I woke up early today so I could watch a movie before heading out to see Hamilton this afternoon. I'm very excited for that. Um, this was 1941's The Feminine Touch, directed by W.S. Van Dyke. It's on TCM. Watch TCM right now. It expires on Monday, I believe, because it was aired last Monday. So I got to it just in time. It's produced by Joe Mankiewicz, and it was written by George Oppenheimer, Edmund L. Hartman, and Ogden Nash. It is a screwball comedy towards the end of the really great screwball comedies, or I guess in the middle. MGM stars Don Ameche and Rosalind Russell, with supporting performances from Kay Francis and Van Heflin. Van Heflin was so new at this point that he was still listed underneath the title, and only Russell, Ameche, and Francis were listed as the stars. That said, Van Heflin steals this movie. He is so funny in this movie. So funny. Steals it. I love Van Heflin. He's one of my favorite actors. And actually, this cast list was just all my faves. It's Rosalind Russell is always so funny. Don Ameche, oh my heart. And then Kay Francis, my queen. So unfortunately, towards the end of her career, like many a popular pre-code actress, her the things that made her so special kind of got destroyed by the production code, and so you saw her in a lot of things where she didn't really get to shine. She's not terrible in this movie. She's quite good, but the role is not as good. And if you took the same story and set it before the code, this could have been a really racy film. Instead, because you're sort of hampered by the code. Not all screwball comedies are hampered by the code. Some of them are hilarious and preposterous and fun in and of themselves. I'm thinking of something like the Palm Beach Story, which is never like a dull moment in that film. This one gets a little in its own way with its complicated plot, and it never gets to be sexy enough, which is again because of the production code, and we're in the middle of World War One here, or World War Two here. And there's a couple of jokes that maybe were hilarious in 1941, but they fall a little bit flat in 2018, including a Nazi joke that I'm like, oh God, it really didn't work today. But the plot follows John Hathaway, a college professor who's married to Rosalind Russell. He's working on a book about jealousy. He decides to leave his small college that he's at after the dean asks him to help pass a dumb athlete who just has no purpose being in college other than to win championships. And so he won't do it. And so he takes his manuscript and his wife, and they go up to New York to sell this publication. Meanwhile, Kay Francis, the head of the publishing house, is Van Heflin, but Kay Francis really runs the place. She has a bit of a she knows that she has a bit of a crush on Van Heflin. She wants to marry him. She knows that he's a neurotic and basically likes to chase women, and she's tired of it. So she locks him up because she knows that the wife is going to show up, and she just doesn't want that to happen. However, when she's going over notes with Don Ameche, Rosalind Russell lets Van Heflin out of the closet he's been locked in, and this sets the plot in motion where he keeps trying to hit on her, and Kay Francis and Don Ameche are working on this book, which causes Rosalind Russell to be jealous, and eventually you find out that they all like each other, and that's where you get the screwball comedy aspect, except when everyone partners off. And then there's a great very end, sort of everyone fights with each other, and it could have been like the level of the women, with Rosalind Russell biting Paulette Goddard, but it doesn't quite get that funny. But Van Heflin in the fighting sequence is hilarious, and there's a moment that made me laugh so hard. So I think it's like 90% good, and then there's 10% where it just falls really flat, and that's unfortunate. But overall, I really enjoyed this film. It was a great way to start my Sunday. I laughed a lot. I enjoy seeing Van Heflin do comedy. He really sort of later in the 40s shifted into doing a lot more serious stuff, and I'm just a fan of his comic timing. So if you enjoy comic Van Heflin or young Don Ameche, or Kay Francis or Rosalind Russell, and who doesn't love Kay Francis and Rosalind Russell, this is a film for you. It's directed by W.S. Van Dyke, obviously most well known for The Thin Man, but he made many a great comedy, starting in the pre-code era, going all the way through Screwballs. One of the best comic directors who ever lived. This is The Feminine Touch. It's from 1941. You can watch it on TCM. Watch TCM right now.